welcome in the lair of the dragon. Welcome in the lair of the dragon where there is rock and roll, philosophic and geopolitics, and rock and roll, and a little bit of comedy 24/7. We're gonna rock and roll a special bilingual edition because yours truly is Quebecer, Canadian, North American. Many past lives, many incarnations. This rock and roll special vigil over coffee is dedicated to my Aspie Nation across nations unite. Those with Aspergers, also known as highly functional autism, which yours truly has learned to accept that I do have it over the years, especially during COVID, and have learned and learning every day to manage it more and more. Can be pretty intense, but yeah, I do have Aspergers. I'm an Aspie. I'm an Aspie. I'm an Aspie. I can be a little nasty with consent and hygiene because the little obsessions we do have. We're obsessed about a lot of different or some specified interests that we're obsessed, such as I can admit that I do have a little bit of an obsession with public hygiene. That's why I do open carry my disinfectant, and I do have weird gestures and habits, or I repeat things, which is part of having Asperger's, repetition, of course. And people with Asperger's know that sometimes we say twice or three times the same phrase or the same sentence that we can be quite obsessive or have obsessions about particular interests or areas of study, of which myself I can say that yes, for years I have been obsessed, and I have studied geopolitics with an intense manner, a point of having an obsession about it, and of course of being obsessive over geopolitics or even fitness in the past years. I'm just about maybe geopolitics, fitness, and a little bit of creativity and arts, with a little bit of public hygiene obsession on being perhaps too meticulous or obsessive about public hygiene. Yes, I do get dirty rock and roll, but I get back clean. And yours truly, who's an Aspie, is gonna dedicate this special video to my Asperger nations unite. Rock and roll first and foremost. I will express my gratitude, and French will follow. French will follow. French will follow. So fast forward and fans, more or less half an hour, 44 minutes, or whatever the case may be, because we are in Montreal, Metropolis, North America, Canada. Yours truly, independent Aspie artist, Aspie athlete. Athlete for the people, and androgynous, yours truly, Aspie, athlete and artist with rock and roll 24/7 libido comedy. I encourage all to work out, train, exercise. Working out, training, and exercising has been, is, and shall continue to be my medicine and therapy of choice. Created my own workout training program system, paradoxically designed to go hand in hand with a geopolitical event and scenario which we are kind of living on in October 2019. Of course, if you don't know what the reference I'm making is that being an Aspie, and back then I still didn't accept my Aspergers, and I fought it, but recently during COVID I did accept it, and I do have Asperger's, which is highly functional autism, so I can don't mind my weird gestures sometimes, or social interactions can be sometimes awkward or specified on a specific topics of interest, and of course have Asperger's. So I've learning during the past years to accept it and to work with it more and more, and of course have has affected me in the past years. Perhaps the depression that I live, being suicidal due to having lost friends over the years due to my Asperger's. You know, what's this weirdo exchange numbers? I'm never gonna call them back. But hey, living for today with hope for tomorrow, please, with consent, consent, consent. Give yourselves a hug like you never hugged before is the main message from coast to coast Canada, and to my North American brothers and sisters. And channel the aggression with push-ups and hugs, motto of the Dragan Army, which yours truly calls the initiative to be founded via a public and a private partnership, all corporations, institutions, and organizations that I'm calling for the greater good. While I admit that I'm not totally selfless, I am not totally selfish either. I want to get that balance, equilibrium, and harmony for myself and for others. And of course, I do believe that I do bring some solutions to the table, perhaps over the years with my Asperger's, studied with literally financial struggling, and I've had some employments, and because probably Asperger's was difficult to retain them or to continue, and of course XYZ factors. But here I am grateful that my rent's paid my rent for the month of September, paid my rent, paid my electricity bill, double trouble, paid my rent. I'm grateful, thankful that I paid my rent, grateful, thankful that I paid my electricity bill, and I got coffee and food on a budget. Thank you, farmers, cuz brothers and sisters, citizens. Our food security starts with the farmers. Our food security starts with the farmers. Thank you, love you, big kisses to the farmers, truckers, butchers, bakers, all those involved in the production and the distribution of food. Rock and roll every day for the farmers, butchers, truckers in the lair of the dragon. Since I had COVID, it's 42 months, 3.5 years since I had COVID already. 3.5 years. In February 2020, I was very sick, ill and diseased, and I had all the symptoms of COVID. It was before it was in the news. Only about a month later was came out as the name appellation COVID, coronavirus, also known as the coronavirus, which I had. 42 months, 3 years and a half now, since February 2020. I was very sick, ill and diseased. I thought I was going to die, and in many ways I do say that I died, and I'm being reborn during this COVID, accepting that I'm an Aspie, aka that I have highly functional autism, also known as Aspergers syndrome. Some doctors, specialists use those two terminologies, two terms interchangeably, or sometimes they use both. As I use it, Aspergers, aka highly functional autism, and of course to what that implies and what that means and how one learns to deal with it and accept it and be mindful of gestures and tics in public or whatever have you, such as particular tics or repetitions of the words and the sentences, amongst other symptoms that a person with Asperger's, aka highly functional autism, because I can cook, I can clean, I can clean, I can cook, I can clean, I can cook, I can do all the things under the sun. I'm not that good at some other things, but I am good at geopolitics. I can be, perhaps thanks to my Asperger's, and a paradox of it is, of course, because perhaps of my Asperger's, being obsessed with geopolitics back in a few years ago. I studied, and I put together the trends for the past 7 years. And back in 2019, I sounded the alarm and I said, hey, humanity, we're again on a path towards another international conflagration. And in October 19, I had designed my workout training program to go hand in hand with a World War III scenario, paradoxically, because again, a paradox that I am a world peace advocate. I have hope for myself and for others, But of course, I had seen the trends, especially taking into consideration the US-China trade war, which began in 2018 and started the United States, Sino-North American, Sino-Western crisis, which is ongoing and has, of course, furthermore escalated with the war in Ukraine. So in many ways, perhaps my Asperger's, being an Aspie, paradoxically, had chosen that I had obsessed over such topics of geopolitics, and also in parallel with fitness, because I believe fitness and working out, training, and exercising regularly is great, does wonders for the mind, for the body, for the spirit. So that's why I have been and will continue to call for a public-private partnership for us to mass finance citizens, our brothers and sisters, citizens coast to coast and throughout what I call the North American collective civilization, or the North American civilizational complex, which is my own theory and philosophy, which I've developed and I've put over the years on YouTube and online. And as being a philosopher, an Aspie philosopher, go Aspie Nation, offer you some good rock and roll. And before I proceed, I want to say my gratitude again. And before I do proceed about discussing my geopolitical scenario of 2019 October, I do want to express my gratitude. Grateful, thankful for today. I paid my rent. It is September 19th. My rent's paid, electricity bills paid, and got food and coffee. And grateful, thankful for this coffee. Grateful, thankful for all the things that I got. And I hope for today is way better here where I live now than I used to live. And probably I used to live due to the mold and whatever chronic illness that I lived through back then, and mold and whatever have you, and trauma. And I also have what's called amnesia. It's specific focal retrograde amnesia. So I cannot recall my life outside of the island of Montreal. I know I graduated high school. I have a high school diploma, this and that. I know all the work that I did, perhaps obsessively as an Aspie during COVID, especially the past 42 months. And it's been 3.5 years since I survived COVID. And of course, what I'm offering to the table, specifically my trinity of theories known as the CIT, Citizen Integration, DRT, Debt Refusion Theory, and the DFT, the Democratic Fusion Theory. That trinity of theories that I'm calling to be implemented via the fourth dimension, LOVE, because I'm a rainbow Aspie, part of the LGBTQ community, androgynous, pansexual, but that's just part of me. Part of me is a geopolitical analyst and theorist, a great thinker and philosopher, a universal revolutionary centrist. Maybe I got an obsession over the past years, perhaps since I started my fitness journey about 4 or 5 years ago, and especially during COVID. I do believe that my universal revolutionary centrism, based on public-private partnerships, offers solutions to some impasses where we are in economics, finance, crises, and everything that's going on in the world for world peace. So grateful, thankful for this cup of coffee. Thank you, farmers, butchers, bakers, public security workers, public workers. Public workers, rock and roll for the public workers a little bit, because they changed the aqueducts, the sewers, and of course the potholes, so that we drive safer, and the children, they drive safer in the car when the potholes are filled, they can bump. So public works is important, public private partnership are important, the private and the public. It's always a balance to be in harmony and equilibrium. And of course I salute, I'm a fan of the construction workers. I rock and roll for them 24/7. And we're discussing about building more residential buildings due to the lack of houses. It's first and foremost, we gotta applaud and cheer on and salute our citizens, the construction workers. I am a fan. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. They go on that cranes. I'm a fan of cranes, and of course how they build with steel toe boots, with metal, with cement, and with that brains and muscle to build the houses that we live, that I live in myself. And of course I'm calling for construction workers to help support build the house of the dragon. As I became Dragon Zero officially when I first completed my 300 workouts back in September 29 last year. I officially, I still, because I lack finance, but in my heart my surname's changed from Dragon to Dragon. Not a big change. Dragon, 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 same thing. The A became an O, the A turned into an O, the A turned into an O by my own efforts and my own work. You can see hundreds of workout training videos which I've done online, and I'm calling on the NFL, NBA, and all the owners and the players who are multi-millionaires, multi-billionaires, sometimes a billion is 1,000 million, blah 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 blah, to please finance food security, finance food security, women's sports league. And let's got so much public infrastructure to rebuild in North America, and we gotta cheer, we gotta applaud. I applaud rock and roll for the construction workers first and foremost, because they're the ones gonna build it. Hey, so we gotta be grateful, mindful of that as I drink this cup of coffee. That my brothers and sisters, with much love, civilization is a privilege. So our farmers, coast to coast, we love them. And I got this bread, I put 3 ingredients in this salad, 3 simple ingredients. So grateful, thankful for this salad, because it's eating. So I put coleslaw, put bread. Thank you for the wheat farmers, grain farmers, wheat farmers, and of course the transformation, brains and muscle. It's of course brains and muscle. Civilization has and is requiring brains and muscle, and of course it's the bread from the bakers. So thank you, bakers, 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 bakers of the world. Love you, bakers of Canada, Quebec, La Belle Province, because I am a North American. I lived, born in the USA twice in past lives, in both 77, 70, 76, and I rock and roll for them 24/7 for more than 3.5 years, for the workers, general workers of the collective North American civilization, truckers, butchers, bakers, nurses, public workers, and changing the aqueducts, the sewers, all those now on the trucks from Mexico, Canada, US, because I include Mexico in what I call the collective North American civilization for more than 3.5 years now, since I died of COVID. In many ways, I say I did die of COVID in February 2020, and I'm being reborn now with every workout, every video, every second and split second, and a trillionth of a second microchips I designed in a parallel life. I'm not going to go digress into that, but anyway, satellites in a parallel life. I am a super scientist who works in telecommunications and satellites and microchips and supercomputers and all the like. But in this life, I'm more of a philosopher, geopolitical analyst, and artist, and an independent fitness captain who I believe created, with all the imperfections that I do have, I created the best workout training program system that requires no equipment, I'm speaking, and that's simple, effective, and efficient for the 21st century. I can proudly say that, with all the imperfections that I do have. I scratch a little bit in public and rock and roll and perhaps have weird gestures, but I mean no harm, and I make a compromise between the public and the private. And I have admitted in the past, and I like my BDSM switch, BDSM switch. So another topic for another cup of coffee, sexuality, which I've done in the past, and my own sexuality. It is what it is. It's part of us. Sometimes it's hard to admit, like, how many NFL players are LGBTQ. It's not only Conless Sheep. There are many, many, many. But I understand finance, man. Where I had employments I loved during COVID, and perhaps due to Aspergers, it didn't retain it. It didn't work out. But it's best sometimes to address, directly, and say, hey, don't say this. And if I've offended somebody, if I've offended, I apologize. And I'm willing to apologize and stuff like that. It's not a problem if we can work together, as long as we don't kill each other. I want to see us work out, train, and exercise, and clean, and public-private partnerships, and hugging, and dancing, and kissing, and some of that good Aspie loving. Don't have to be Aspie, of course, Aspergers, Aspie. Some of that good Aspie loving, good Aspie loving, good Aspie loving. In other words, I'd rather be seeing us joyous and healthy and loving and sharing and try to be less selfish. And please, multi-millionaires, billionaires, if you have those millions and billions in the bank account, finance, fitness, finance, food security, finance, public works, like the aqueducts, the sewers, the infrastructure, finance, 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 and women's sports leagues and finance. Aspie, Asperger artists, athletes like myself who are independent and who are open for business 24/7, blah, 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 blah. So Asperger's, aka highly functional autism. And again, before I do proceed, I will to say, with love, my gratitude, grateful, thankful. Rents paid for the month of September. Paid my rent, paid my electricity bill, double trouble. Paid my rent, paid my electricity bill, and got food and coffee. Thank you, farmers and the truckers and the butchers and the bakers all across the streets now going east, west, north, south from Mexico. All the trucks delivering all the goods, all the services, all the goods, mostly, the potatoes, the bananas, the avocados, the clothing. Got a big salute, got to appreciate. Maybe just in Montreal, there's 156, maybe 333, maybe 718 across Canada going east, west, north, south. Gotta love them. Rock and roll it for the truckers on the road, huh? Rock and roll it for the truckers on the road. Rock and roll it for the truckers on the road. Because if I would have a TV show and a radio show, it wouldn't pass a whole hour where I would not send some love to the farmers, the butchers, the bakers, the truckers, the nurses, the doctors, the public workers. Big public workers, salute, big loving, who pick up the recycling every week. Pick up once a week the recycling, once a week the compost, once a week the garbage, right? Garbage, recycling, and compost. Three services. It's part of public works, right? And I am advocating for citizen integration theory, blah, 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 blah. Action is required so that we get the students and we get everybody to visit the plants and visit how it's done and visit the recycling plants and where the garbage compost is done and all these processes of civilization are done from the high school to the early, from 7 years old, maybe from the from first grade to the universities and even senior citizens to organize and apply my citizen integration theory across the collective North American civilization along with my other theories. I'm calling on my uncle. I call him my uncle, Prime Minister Legault. Sometimes I'm 50-50 with some politicians, 50-50, 50-50. If I make $1 million, I'm going to give 50%, half for my anonymous sister friend, the greatest woman I know, anonymous in the world, deserves to be 7 times richer than Oprah, 7 times all the Kardashian put together times 7. Anonymous sister, if I make $1 million, I'm going to give her half, $1 billion, going to give her half, $1 trillion, going to give her half, just because, out of love and respect, and because my anonymous sister friend is the greatest woman that I know, and I will nonetheless give half, 50, 50, half. And sometimes we got things we got to manage. Financial stresses is not easy. I remember, working and I have a few jobs which I really like, paradoxical jobs, and I'm able to be a Barbie and a fitness. I'm able to manage all my femininity and my masculinity. I am androgynous. I can be caring and loving and understanding, but I have to deal with my Aspergers, which I've learned during COVID to accept and deal more and more. But I can also be intense and work out and train and strength and vigor and intensity and intensity, strength and vigor together. And I had a few employments I really loved during COVID, but I guess maybe they'll work out perhaps due to my Asperger's. It wasn't, who knows, the communication sometimes was unbalanced, or I offended, and who knows, gossip. We gossip because we feel mediocre sometimes, and myself included. I am mediocre at some things, I admit it. I am so at some things. I am average at some things, guilty. While I am average, mediocre, and so at some things, I am super and excellent and very good at geopolitical analysis, at theory, at philosophy, and at fitness. As an independent fitness captain, I believe I'm great and the greatest. When combined with poetry, the greatest living millennial dancing poet. To my allies and armies, pledge your allegiance, legions, thou art family. I got trillions of tickles that I put on the table. Kisses credited from the forgotten goddess. I got trillions. Trillions. A trillion is 1,000 billion. A billion is 1,000 million. So kisses is the one that I have most. If I ever have it, I'm rich, wealthy, and affluent, and something from the forgotten goddess. I do say goddess as a universal spiritual teaching student. Aspie, spiritual teaching student, because I'm learning every day. If I have something the most, it is kisses. Kisses. Kisses got by the trillions. Blah, 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 blah. It is what it is. And I do say the word goddess. I don't know so many things spiritually. so many things I don't know. Aspergers, I've been learning during the past years to deal with it and to accept it and to move forward and to live for today to the fullest and to harm none. Harm none is a principle. Harm none unless you know with consent. Like BDSM. If you're, I am BDSM loving Aspie. BDSM stands for bondage, domination, submissive, and masochism. So, and I also call the leaders of the free world, if they have certain things like that, to be open about it, so that no exterior force outside of the free world of Canada, Quebec, to be able to blackmail in any way, shape, or form. Let's say if my Prime Minister Legault or Prime Minister Justin would have, and it would be exposed and have tapes that he enjoys being whipped. Say, so what? You want to threaten, let's say, some foreign intelligence services for us outside from the east, from the other side of the Atlantic on the east or the other side of the Pacific from the west. I would have my prime minister's back. I would have my general's back or whatever back. So what? That's freedom to do. He likes that with consenting adults, between consenting adults, of course. If he likes that type, and sometimes it's not hard to admit. I admit, yeah, with consent, I do like to be, let's say, a little bit. Degraded, a little bit degraded. Let's say Aspie Nation, across nations unite. So, highly functional autism. What is it? What does the internet say? Let's go to the internet. And again, before I do go, let's say a little bit of rock and roll for the farmers and the butchers and the bakers and the construction workers and the truckers in the steel toe boots. We gotta love 'em. Building the aqueducts and the sewers, filling up the potholes with some sand. And some sand, gotta no more potholes anymore. Gotta no more potholes anymore. Drive safer with the kids, yo. No more potholes. Drive safer with the kids, yo. Public works, super important. Public works, the maintenance, and here in Montreal, to clean the city. And I always respect and send love and admire rock and roll to the public works, changing the aqueducts, the sewers, and the farmers, and the butchers, and the nurses, and the doctors, and the teachers, and everything that I do. And I put a lot of work, especially during COVID. You see hundreds of my workout videos and hundreds of my workout videos, artistic videos, intellectual videos, geopolitical videos, and of course creative videos with my ideas and my rock and roll. And of course I do send love, and I do send appreciation and gratefulness, to be grateful for today, for this food which I'm gonna eat on a budget but good, and for this cup of coffee. And super important for me to be grateful that my rent's paid, electricity bill's paid, and my anonymous sister, I do have to give her half because got some channel which I'm gonna be able to watch and watch some good movies. And I'm grateful for that, and grateful for every second, and grateful, of course, that I also learned to accept my Aspergers. I'm an Aspie. And you see, I repeat. So repetitions is a part of having Aspergers, and obsessing with certain topics. And perhaps during the past years, as I say that I spent with one foot in the streets and one foot in the libraries, and read on politics, geopolitics, and all things of civilization. And I did so much analysis through Asperger's, and wrote on papers and USB keys and online, and did so much an analysis. And in a paradoxical way, back in 2019, I came to that conclusion. I said, hey, humanity, I sounded the alarm. I said, we are again on a path towards an international conflagration. And so May created and designed, paradoxically, again, perhaps this is thanks to me having Asperger's, obsessing over this, and in details the trade war analysis between US and China, and putting the pieces together in geopolitical terms, and came to that scenario, developing that scenario. The paradox of me perhaps having Asperger's and being an Aspie, aka also known as highly functional autism, that obsession kind of gave this sort of excellent, super good, and very timely analysis, geopolitical analysis, that humanity were heading towards an international conflagration. In other words, a World War III, which it seems that we have, and I'm hoping not, and world peace will prevail, and we will learn to channel our aggressions. Because my brothers and sisters, I admit I have aggression myself, but my brothers and sisters, citizens, I channel it, man. I channel it and I sublimate it. It's super important to admit it and then channel it. I work out. I train, I exercise, right? And I've been coming during this COVID to a rebirth, to some joy. because we can't have to admit sometimes they're hard to admit. Like I admit at some things I am mediocre, at some things I am so, at some things I am not so good. While I'm being excellent, super good, and very good at some other things. Geopolitical analysis, politics, rock and roll, and dance combined with poetry, I'm the best. Rainbow, yours truly, Rainbow Aspie. And yours truly is not perfect, far from it. And do admit, I have aggression, but I channel it. I work out, I do push ups, I train, I exercise so that I harm none. And like I always say, in public, you can see all sorts of things, but you're not allowed to make threats, to threaten people. That's why I draw the line, to threaten security, safety, whatever it is, right? To threaten and make threats or to whatever do harm to anybody. And I consider Quebecers, Canadians, my family because, my family is Quebec, Canada, and Canadians and North Americans, and I've been many incarnated in many past lives, many incarnations. But of course, I am here today during this video on Aspergers, being an Aspie, highly functional autism. Grateful, thankful for this cup of coffee. And yes, sometimes to some people, I am a POS, and if I've offended, and apologies, and whatever have you. But we can move forward, and we need to focus now on coast to coast, North American collective security defense, and breaking the impasses in the public-private partnership. Overall, that's what I can say. We gotta focus North Americans for world peace as well. But I always say I am a North American. I'm a Canadian, I'm a Quebecer. Personally, I do not consider myself nor view myself as a member of a diaspora. Quebec is my family, Quebecers, Canadians, my family, North Americans, and while being and can be universal, and I am a world citizen as much as I can be, and I hope for humanity to break the impasse and we move towards world peace and get along civilizational. But nonetheless, North Americans, we constitute ourselves what I call a complex civilization or a North American civilizational complex, also known or also can be said as a North American collective civilization. Not collective as in collectivism, but is collective as in being a collection of different amalgamation of different cultures and different substrata, subcultures and ideas and theories that are 21st century, and it's an ongoing emerging North American collective civilization. And I've discussed it in the past, and we'll discuss it in the coming days, weeks, and months ahead. So here we are on this 19th of September, gonna read it. But first and foremost, I do want to just take a minute to... What happened here? And there we are, we're gonna rock and roll again, and we're gonna go to the Asperger syndrome. What is it? So, according to the internet, Asperger syndrome, aka autism, Asperger's. Aspie Nation, love you, unite. And of course, last week I begun my workouts dedicated to my Aspie Nation. You can see the full videos, 3-hour workouts, 3-hour workout videos. We have obsessions. So one of my obsessions is fitness, especially in the past, like I would say, maybe 4 years since I started my fitness journey. I really obsessed about fitness, and fitness geopolitics is part of my obsession, and perhaps public hygiene as well, and arts, creativity, because I'm an artist, athlete artist, and geopolitical analysis, and philosopher and dancer. And dancing, I believe I'm the greatest living dancing millennial rainbow poet fundamentally, with Aspie, nonetheless. So Asperger's syndrome is a neurodevelopmental condition, right? So it's called a condition here. Asperger's syndrome is a neurodevelopmental condition characterized by significant difficulties in social interaction and nonverbal communication, combined with restricted and repetitive patterns of behavior and interests. So I could say that in the past years, let's say the past like 7 years, my obsession, because if I can't remember when I go back more than 8, 9 years like that, it's my memory due to having it's called the condition when you can access memories of early childhood, early adulthood, or before a prior onset of a certain disease. It's called, of course, amnesia, but my specific one is focal retrograde amnesia. So it's kind of hard for me to know the memories, or to know if my memories are those memories specifically. But what I remember most is the past years, especially during COVID, and my work online and my work ongoing now, because I consider this work, and I'm open for business. And this is Aspergers. It is considered a high functioning form of autism. So yes, it is restricted and repetitive patterns. I mean, you can see my fitness. I mean, I have hundreds of workout videos. I created my own workout training program. Maybe good for Aspies. maybe maybe only Asperger people will do that workout. Just if you're an Aspie, maybe you'll do that. Oh yeah, Dragan, you created a workout for the Aspie Nation. We're gonna become fit. Perhaps because it requires no equipment, and it has rules, and it has a certain pattern, and it has rules. My workout is kind of like with rules, right? It has the rules. My General War Integrated Total Body Training System, aka the Dragon Army workout, which I've created back in October 2019, of which have performed more than 360. You can see so many videos of me working out, training. And yes, so fitness is an obsession. It could be a repetition or a constant obsession. So behavior and interest, fitness, geopolitics, philosophy, and I guess geopolitics, philosophy, you could say even politics, geopolitics, politics. And although I'm not a member of a party officially, I call for the PPP, Phoenix People's Party, as a private public partnership. And but I do have these intense interests, and repetitive patterns is of course working out, training, and exercising. And over time, every time we go for workout, training, exercising in the lair of the dragon, and rock and roll with it. I am a rock and roll Aspie, and workout, train, exercise, and analyze geopolitics and theorize and stuff like that. So yeah, it is considered a high functioning form of autism. The exact cause of Asperger's is poorly understood, but it has higher irritability, and environmental factors are also believed to play a role. So the diagnosis is based on the symptoms, and there's no single treatment for Asperger's. However, behavioral and educational interventions can help manage the condition successfully. Yeah, so I'm learning. I've been learning. Gotta give a thanks to my anonymous sister friend. If I make a me, I'm gonna give her half a B. I'm gonna give her half a tree. I'm gonna give her half that. I've been learning to manage it more and more during the COVID, and be aware, like not to engage in one-sided conversations, or just digress and just turn the conversation towards geopolitics or fitness, or whatever it is, things that I'm obsessed about, which is fitness and working out, training, and exercise. You can say fitness and sports, and of course, fitness, sports, and geopolitics and stuff, geopolitics, politics, and of course, even arts, cinema, and arts. So, Asperger's syndrome. Let's go on Wikipedia. What does Wikipedia say? We're gonna go on wiki. Wicked Aspie. Wicked Aspie like a bee sting and rock and roll. I'm good at rock and roll as well. Perhaps it's my obsession as well with rock and roll arts and creativity. But here it is. So Asperger's syndrome, Aspie unite. So myself having Aspie, and I have to say that during the past years, and especially during COVID, and in the past years, I've been learning to manage it and being aware of it. I have lost a lot of friends over the years. Over the past 7 years, I've exchanged so many numbers with so many peoples, and never called back and say, "Who's that weirdo? Who repeats things 3 times or has weird gestures?" Like, it's part of having Asperger's and stuff. But you learn to manage it, and you learn to deal with it on a constant. So it's it can be, we can have very obsessive thing topics of interest, such as myself in geopolitics. I am obsessed with geopolitics, and I can speak about geopolitics for hours and hours and hours nonstop, and digress and analyze the interaction between nation states and politics and whatever have you for hours, as I can work out, train, and exercise fitness for hours, and because they are part of my obsessions. And I work out, train, exercise, and I analyze geopolitics, and I also philosophize and put my theories on theories for the 21st century, which I believe are part of the solutions to where we are today as North Americans unite. And I do believe we can unite. Or perhaps spirituality is also an obsession, because I do believe in reincarnations. And I'm a Telemite, non-sectarian, non-dogmatic Telemite. I don't know so many things, but I practice like tell my Asperger's syndrome. AS, also known as Asperger's syndrome, is a neurodevelopmental condition characterized by significant difficulties in social interaction and nonverbal communication. So yeah, sometimes like nonverbal, like I can get too close to people sometimes, or ask weird questions, or can just stuff like that. So combined with restricted and repetitive patterns of behaviors and interests. So yeah, you can see in my many videos. I mean, you see hundreds of workout videos. So I can say that I am obsessed and have these interests, intense and obsessive interests. A few of them very intense, very obsessed, such as fitness, geopolitics, and rock and roll, arts and the arts, and pretty much. And but also public hygiene. If you notice that all my videos, there's a line there where I ask people to to please increase in public hygiene. And you see many of my videos, like when I touch the buttons to change the light, I wash after with the disinfectant. And I always say I don't know how many people touched it before, and there's germs, bacteria, and microbes and stuff like that are fly over there, or people touch. And public hygiene is important, personal hygiene as well. I do get dirty, rock and roll, BDSM switch, but I get back clean. And of course, so you can see some of my videos when I go to the bank and I press the machine. I wonder, say how I do a reflection. I say how many people touched it, the screen, and I don't know, maybe they forgot to wash or whatever have you. So I always use the disinfectant too. And it's important, public hygiene, because we have the public and the private balance, right? It's always an equilibrium and a balance, to wash the hands. And please increase in public hygiene. Please increase in public hygiene. Please increase public hygiene. Yes, I mean, in my private life, I don't mind to get dirty, but I get back clean, and I don't mind to such things as BDSM switch or whatever it is, with consent and washing and getting clean after. Let's say such things as golden showers or whatever, golden showers, golden shower. If I can bring somebody pleasure to my friends and allies or whatever, say can you do this for me? Yeah, perhaps make a compromise, consent within consenting adults, of course. We're speaking about here consenting adults. So, autism, aka highly functional autism. So, the syndrome has been merged with other conditions into autism spectrum disorder. It was considered to differ from other diagnoses that were merged into ASD by relatively unimpaired spoken language and intelligence. The syndrome was named after the Austrian pediatrician Hans Aspergers, who in 1944 described children who struggled to form friendships over the past years. Yeah, making new friends, and willing to have friends with benefits, because part of also being an Aspie, having Asperger's, is we show love by offering practical things, like can I offer you sometimes, like whatever things that are, whatever can be the case, food, or a hug, and or kiss, or tickles, or massages, stuff like that. We also like to offer things like that, more practical, more than like, which can seem more awkward, or more awkward, something to offer, rather than, I think we rather than just verbal love or verbal appreciation or verbal gratitude. We also like to do gestures to offer things, like I say for the firefighters who fought in the worst wildfires across Canada, that I offered them to wash their feet the Beaver Lake. You see on my videos there, which is true. I do offer that if they want. And September, October, I'm willing to put in some work, and can wash the firefighters who fought in Chibougamau in Quebec, and during the worst wildfire season of ever in Canada, 2023, which is we're still in. And you know saluting them, and love our firefighters, love our firefighters, love our firefighters, ambulance drivers, first responders, y'all love them. Encourage all the workout, train, exercise. I calling for the adoption of my workout training program system, which requires no equipment for firefighters and first responding and citizens, is a way to keep fit physically and of course mentally. It goes hand in hand together. Clumsiness. Sometimes I'm clumsy myself. Sometimes I'm clumsy. So sometimes people with Asperger's have clumsiness. We have clumsiness. We have them to be a little bit clumsy, on the clumsy side, right? So the exact see if describe children in his care who struggle to form friendships. I mean, yeah, I made some friends and I lost a lot of friends even the past 7 years, but I'm learning to accept it more and more and to work on it, and it's a work in progress. And Aspergers, it's uh, highly functional autism. Aspie, I'm an Aspie. And do not understand others' gestures or feelings, engaged in one sided conversation about their favorite interests. So, yeah, it's possible that I lost a lot of friends due to that. So, in the past years, I've become aware to manage it. And I do ask questions and I offer, I like to offer practical things and whatever it is to those who are my friends. And I'm willing to make friends with benefits and allies and armies. Pledge your allegiance, legions, thou art family, love you. And we're clumsy. So yeah, clumsiness is a factor. Pervasive domain of so the exact cause of Asperger's is poorly understood. Environmental factors. So the symptoms are problems with social interaction and nonverbal communication. Yeah, my gestures sometimes can be weird, or hands gestures, or like repeating things, or passing the cup of coffee from one hand to the other, and then drinking with the other hand. I'm aware of this. Yeah, it's Asperger's, so which can seem weird. Maybe that's why I went to get a cup of coffee with some friends, and so what the hell is doing with the cup of coffee going from the left to the right, from the right and then drinking, probably say I'm not gonna call this nutcase again, and that's it. That's all. Rock and roll, rents paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee. Nobody works out like Dragon overtime. Rock and roll. Nobody's born a dragon, not even myself. Is the motto of the Dragon Army, because not with a surname, and I didn't. I grew up my kind of solo in the streets and in the libraries. I made some family, which I consider family over the years, and all my friends with benefits are my allies and armies, thou art family, and I consider Canadians to be my family, Quebecers, and if I make some, I want to make some money fighting Tyson Fury ASAP to give some to the government of Quebec, government of Canada back for the financial support during COVID, So here are some of the symptoms. So problems with social interaction, yeah, and nonverbal communication, restricted interests, and repetitive behavior. I mean, yeah, you can see my fitness and workout has been over the years, and marches to march consider for my fitness, marching perhaps for causes such as Aspie Nation for those with Aspergers, such as I did yesterday my workout and last week, and others causes women's sports and LGBTQ issues, and for the construction workers, farmers, butchers, and all that. So part of my fitness journey, I am have restricted, I would say obsessive, with certain interests such as fitness and sports, fitness, geopolitics, and philosophy. I mean, things like that, especially geopolitics, can dissect and analyze in details, and can discuss for hours and the geopolitical subjects and the interplay of the dynamics of this different nation states and their relationships, and of course their treaties and their acts and their pacts and their military, social, financial, economic capabilities, and the interaction and free trade and globalization as geopolitical regions, and the dissolution of the Soviet Union as a geopolitical event, and the rise of China as a geopolitical event, and the current invasion and the current Russia Ukraine crisis in Europe was a major global geopolitical event, right? And current geopolitical events, past geopolitical events, which reverberate. So geopolitics, very obsessed, but perhaps that was a paradoxical. My obsession over geopolitics in the past 7+ years, perhaps coming with that geopolitical analysis that we are headed towards an international conflagration. Back in 2019, in October, of World War III, I said we're headed towards World War III. In other words, perhaps we are today closer than ever. Perhaps even nuclear wars. I'm on my journey, last 40-day journey, right until October 24th, 25th, with 40-day event rights for cleaning, rejuvenation, and purification, and of course my call to the support my dream, the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom, which is fundamentally a call for a public-private partnership which manifests as my dream, the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, or the dragon empire and the dancing goddess empire, kingdom empire for the people, for the people, for the people, my Quebec brothers and sisters, Canadians, coast to coast, North Americans, and for world peace. So, symptoms: problems with social interaction and nonverbal communication, restricted interest, and repetitive behavior. Yeah, those are symptoms. Definitely repetitive behavior. I mean, I work out every week, several times, and I read, study, write theory. I read, study, write theory. Read, study, write theory. I work out. I train overtime every time, and can see hundreds of my workout videos just before COVID, when starting on my fitness journey after I got out of depression and being suicidal. So again, depression and suicidal, some people, Aspies like myself, have it, and it's because of losing friends and socialize and whatever have you. But here I am today, some joy and gratitude, and open for business, blah 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 blah. Symptoms and complications: social isolation. Yeah, complications, social isolation. Yeah, I have felt this, but I mean, just even so before COVID, fears, but during COVID as well. Employment problems. Yeah, I had employment problems. I mean, I'm open for business 24/7, rock and roll, but I had some jobs and that I really liked during COVID, and I like to work physically. I'm very intense, very capable physically, and also in artistically, physically, athletically, artistically, and in terms of philosophy, and even a little bit of comedy, humor. Comedy is important for me. I sometimes laugh at my clumsiness. I'm like, clumsy dragon, clumsy dragon. Sometimes I'm not that clumsy though. Sometimes I'm more disciplined and rigid and very, very stable on my feet when I rock and roll, when I work out, train, exercise, or do dragon drills. And of course, when it's social isolation, employment problems I faced. I mean, I had jobs and maybe not being able to retain them, although I wish I would, because I remember working in steel and metal during COVID. I was high, high physical and danger, and with steel, with metal. It was really a job that I enjoyed physically, because I enjoy physicality and fitness. So, but who knows? Like maybe due to Aspergers, I mean, and also work temp agencies and did not continue to to um, to offer me continuation. And another job which I really liked was working for the elderly. Maybe it was a bit bossy. Asperger's man is a bossy. Who knows? But like maybe things that I said, if I have offended somebody, sorry, and whatever the case may be. But nonetheless, I can incarnate care. I can incarnate somebody who cares. I can incarnate very caring, nurturing. I have that aspect of care and nurture in myself. Consider myself androgynous, so I can be caring, and I like to wash, if anybody whatever is to washing or caring or hugging. I have that aspect with it, but again, maybe due to Asperger's, whatever it is, case may be, and perhaps repeating things or saying being too bossy. That was also a problem. So these are complications for people with Aspie, who myself I say I lived. So some of the symptoms, again, problems of social interaction, nonverbal communication, complications, social isolation. I lived it. I enjoy being in nature and workout, train, exercise to the point of having a repetitive. You can see hundreds of my workout videos, so that's part of repetition. Having Asperger's, also known as highly functional autism, Aspie, which I'm an Aspie, I'm an Aspie, I'm an Aspie. So, complications, social isolation, employment problems, yeah, and family stress doesn't apply to me because I've lived pretty much on my own, and I've been for many, many years right here in this island, and the island of Montreal, where my Quebecer nation, coast to coast Canadians are my family, and Aspie Nation unite. And of course, the bullying, not so much, I don't remember any bullying, perhaps verbally, but whatever have you. So, Aspie, those are all, of course, part of the Asperger Nation right here on this planet. Aspie Nation unite. Quebecer, Canadian, North American, many past lives, many incarnations. We're gonna switch from French to English because we are in North America, Canada, coast to coast, Montreal on the island of the Hawk. where I love to work out, train, exercise, and this Aspie goes overtime, every time, overtime, every time in the lair of the dragon. Thank you, public workers, farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, grocery store clerks, and all involved in the production and the distribution of food. Thank you, farmers. Thank you, butchers. Thank you, bakers. Thank you, nurses. Thank you, all those involved in the production and distribution of food. Grateful for this coffee. And we're going to now switch to French. But again, I do want to say that, of course, it's long term. So you live with it, you learn to deal with it. Being an Asperger's, yep. I repeat things. I have obsessions such as geopolitics, fitness, and whatever have you. And of course, other things that are part of having Asperger's, aka highly functional Asperger's. So in 2015, Asperger's was estimated to affect 37.2 million people globally. Let's unite. 37.2 million Aspies unite. 37.2 million people globally, or about, it's less than 1% of the global population. That's interesting. So that's not a lot of people, eh? So in 2015, Asperger's was estimated to affect 37.2 million people globally, or about 0.5% of the population. Wow, so that's less than 1%. The exact percentage of people affected has still not been firmly established. Autism spectrum disorder is diagnosed in males more often than females. See about that, I consider myself both male and female. I'm androgynous, but whatever it does, I don't mind. I'm a rainbow dragon, Adrian Hanna dragon reborn during this COVID. Nothing that I want to go back to. Get vaccinated, please, and increase in public hygiene. This is Quebecer Canadian who was born in many past lives, many incarnations. I was born right here on this island of Montreal many times in past lives as a Quebecer. Met Louis here as I was born post 1776 in the USA. I believe in reincarnation, and of course I'm going to discuss a little bit about it because spirituality perhaps we're obsessed. So I believe in reincarnations. I was born in the United States of America post 1776 twice. Both times I served in the U.S. Army. So NORAD, NATO, Unite North Americans for the greater good, for world peace. And of course I do believe in reincarnation from ancient Egypt until today. September 19, 2023, according to some, if you point 1904 as your year one, 1904 as your year 193 code 1904 as your year one, as I do, please rock and roll and go loving for the Aspie. Aspie Nation, we are about 37.2 million. So if that was 2015 to 37 million, that means that today, 7 years later, more than 7 years later, today, 2023, we are about 44 million, right? We're about 44 million, right? We're about 44 million, more or less. 44.37. That would, I mean, I'm just kind of speculating the population increase, and if it's 0.5%, which is not even 1%, that means that that's about what it is in terms of the global population. I thought it was more, but I thought it was around 3%, but it's less than 1%. So yeah, those symptoms, most of it I have it, and employment problems I did face, having Asperger's and autism, and aka highly functional autism, because that's what Asperger's is. So we can do everything, we can cook, we can clean, we can do XYZ, but we have those things when we might repeat the same thing twice, which you see in some of my videos. I say the things twice or three times. Gestures like passing the coffee from the hand to the other, or we might have weird tics in public, or just our nonverbal communication can seem a bit strange, a bit weird, or we can have different interpolations of the voices, or whatever the case may be with the voice and whatever it is that you can have, and in terms of the voice, and can be a bit repetitive, and we obsess about certain interests, but perhaps due to having Asperger's, by obsession with geopolitics, and in consequence trying to find some solutions, which I'm calling everybody from the farmers to Elon Musk's, from the farmers to Elon Musk's, from the farmers to Elon Musk's, to work in a public-private partnership, which manifests as my dream, the dancing goddess, and the Dragon Kingdom rock and roll 24/7 in the lair of the dragon. Here I am, rock and roll 24/7, Rainbow Dragon who's an Aspie. Aspie Nation, LGBTQ family, Aspies unite. Sending love to the farmers, butchers, bakers, public workers. Changing the aqueducts coast to coast. And the farmers and the truckers from rock and roll 24/7. Transporting the goods on the highways. Those loading, uploading the trucks, grocery store clerks. Those cooks. Butchers, bakers, those producing the food. And food security starts with the farmers. Big loving. We're not gonna switch to some of that French. En français maintenant. Bienvenue dans la grotte du dragon arc-en-ciel où qui se trouve qu'il y a du rock'n'roll philosophique et comique. 24/24 dans ma grotte du dragon, je vous aime. Premièrement, avant que je continue, je veux exprimer ma gratitude. Il n'y a pas un jour que depuis j'ai failli mourir de la COVID de ma famille du Québec. Vous êtes ma famille, Québécois et Québécoises. Ça fait bien des années de ceci. D'ici, votre Aspie, qui a l'Aspergers, soit l'autisme hautement fonctionnel, qui vous aime, puis qui vous chante avec amour pour la renaissance de la belle province, puis pour l'Amérique du Nord, puis pour la paix mondiale qui nous entendent. Qu'on danse puis qu'on s'aime dans la belle province. Avec le bleu ciel. Faites-moi pas de bordel, c'est pas à Saint-Jean, soyez patient. Votre Aspie. La gratitude aujourd'hui, mon loyer est payé, ma facture d'électricité est payée. Payez les deux. Le 19 septembre, j'ai payé ma facture d'électricité pour le mois de septembre, et j'ai payé mon loyer, puis j'ai du café puis de la nourriture. Donc, pour le café, pour la nourriture simple, austère, sévère, votre Aspie. C'est quoi l'Aspergers? On va discuter parce que moi, je suis un Aspie. Ça veut dire que j'ai l'Aspergers, soit l'autisme hautement fonctionnel. Ça veut dire que je cuisine, je nettoie et je fais de tout. Puis, mais j'ai des choses qui sont bizarres, qui sont un peu des gestes en public, la communication, où je répète 3 fois la même chose, 2-3 fois la même chose. Peut-être je dis 2-3 fois la même chose, ça peut être bizarre. Puis, oui, j'ai perdu beaucoup d'amis durant les dernières années, là, mais je répète des choses, puis je dis des choses qui sont peut-être bizarres, puis qui se trouvent un peu comme bizarres. Puis j'ai des intérêts très spécifiques ou obsessifs. Puis c'est vrai que je suis obsessif, puis des intérêts très spécifiques. Vous pouvez voir des centaines de vidéos de mon entraînement physique. Avec l'entraînement physique, les sports, je suis obsessif. Puis avec aussi la géopolitique, puis les arts, le rock'n'roll, les arts, puis tout ça, la théorie, la géopolitique, la politique, même si je ne fais pas partie d'un parti politique, je rock'n'roll pour le centrisme, puis pour la renaissance de la belle province, dans un partenariat public-privé. Puis avant que je continue, mais sur le thème d'aujourd'hui, que c'est l'Aspergers, je veux chanter pour les fermiers de la belle province, les patates puis les navets, les carottes de chez nous, des cerises on a bonjour, du vin on en fait calvaire, du vin mettez-moi ça dans le verre, du vin on en fait, des raisins on a des raisins, puis des melons. On a tout ce qu'il nous faut dans l'Amérique du Nord. Belle province, que ça danse pour le français légal. Hey, on danse avec mon premier ministre sur le Mont-Royal. Que le soleil nous bénisse avec l'amour, l'Aspergers. Pas facile toujours, mais moi je vous aime, des bisous, puis de l'amour. Si vous ne parlez pas d'amour, je veux rien savoir, merci, bonjour. Si vous ne parlez pas d'amour, je veux rien savoir. Merci, bonjour. Si vous ne parlez pas d'amour, je veux rien savoir. Merci, bonjour. Pour les travailleurs publics, merci pour les changements des aqueducs. Pour les piétons qui a plus de nid de poule, on les remplisse avec du sable, du ciment. Pour les fermiers et les camionneurs, des hauts de les fermes jusqu'au gratte-ciel des fermes, de la terre noire jusqu'au gratte-ciel de l'or. De la terre noire jusqu'au gratte-ciel de l'or. De la terre noire jusqu'au gratte-ciel de l'or. Sur le Mont-Royal, je vous vois, votre dragon arc-en-ciel. Vous envoie l'amour, gratitude, mon loyer payé, mon facture d'électricité, puis je suis en train d'aller pour une grosse, longue marche encore de santé, puis pour dropper, office de la langue française, je suis un 7e comédien aussi, fait que je vais faire la traduction tout de suite. Je vais aller faire un dépôt de mes pamphlets, parce que je suis ouvert pour les affaires, même si je suis en crise financière. J'ai payé mon loyer pour le mois de septembre, j'ai payé ma facture d'électricité, puis j'ai de la nourriture, puis du café, votre dragon arc-en-ciel. Philosophe artiste indépendant vous aime, sans gêne. Bienvenue chez nous dans Belle Province. Du café et du rock'n'roll. L'Asperger, c'est quoi l'Asperger? C'est un Aspie. Un Aspie, c'est quoi? Ça veut dire que j'ai l'Asperger. On va lire sur le Wikipédia. Qu'est-ce que ça veut dire? Le syndrome d'Asperger. La notion de syndrome d'Asperger de l'allemand est utilisé jusqu'en 2018 pour désigner une forme d'autisme définie cliniquement en 1981 par Lorna Wing, à partir de décrite par 1944 par Hans Aspergers. Sur l'Aspergers, aussi connu comme le autisme hautement fonctionnel, ainsi distinguer d'autres formes d'autisme. Le syndrome d'Aspergers intègre les classifications nosographiques officielles de 1993 dans le cadre de troubles inversés de développement. Et en 1992, dans celui de la DSM, il est remplacé au cours des années 2010 par une approche plus évolutive des troubles du spectre de l'autisme. Le diagnostic de syndrome d'Aspergers n'étant de fait plus utilisé par le médecin, maintenant c'est utilisé, qu'est-ce que ça utilise? C'est le syndrome de l'autisme, c'est le autisme hautement fonctionnel. Fait que les Aspies, on se connaît, on peut faire de tout, on cuisine, on nettoie, on peut être intense quand ça parle de nos intérêts, comme moi, l'entraînement physique. J'en fais, vous pouvez voir des centaines de vidéos de mon entraînement physique, vous pouvez voir des centaines de vidéos de mes discussions de géopolitique, puis des analyses, puis des arts. Fait que l'entraînement physique, soit le sport, l'entraînement physique, la géopolitique, puis bien sûr l'art, les arts, la comédie aussi, rock'n'roll, c'est des choses lesquelles on est quand même obsédé. Fait qu'on peut dire géopolitique, politique, géopolitique pour moi-même, puis l'entraînement physique, que je vous encourage tous et toutes. Puis je fais appel, continue à faire appel à un partenariat public-privé pour le financement de codes de corporation par les citoyens pour faire de l'entraînement physique. C'est super important, moi, dans ma démarche d'entraînement physique, c'est super important pour la santé mentale, pour se bien sentir. Je me sens déjà bien après une demi-heure d'entraînement physique, ayant perdu 77 livres, puis ayant peut-être une bonne chose de l'Asperger, c'est qu'en étant obsédé par l'entraînement physique, le conditionnement physique, le sport, j'ai créé mon propre système d'entraînement, un paradoxe parallèlement, en étant obsédé par l'intérêt de la géopolitique. Puis je peux en parler de la géopolitique pendant des heures, sans hésitation, avec une analyse, avec du questionnement, en allant profond par la relation des civilisations, des nations, puis comment on fait en tant que Nord-Américain, puis j'ai proposé, puis j'ai discuté ma théorie que nous, Québécois, Québécoises, Canadiens, on est Nord-Américains, puis on constitue ensemble un collectif de civilisation nord-américaine. Moi, personnellement, moi, considère Québécois, Québécoise, vous êtes ma famille, that's it, rock'n'roll, Canadien, vous êtes ma famille, that's it, rock'n'roll, nord-américain, puis je souhaite la paix dans le monde, je peux être universel, puis dire oui, je peux être universel, puis je souhaite à mes frères et sœurs d'ailleurs, à travers les deux océans Atlantique et Pacifique, la paix mondiale, mais bien sûr, je ne me considère pas personnellement en étant un membre d'une diaspora, je suis Québécois, Canadien, nord-américain, puis oui, je peux être citoyen du monde, je suis en arc-en-ciel, mais je suis un Aspie qui a ces choses comme les autres personnes qui ont l'Aspergers, incluant moi-même, des obsessions avec certains intérêts. Puis c'est pour ça que durant des années, j'ai étudié, puis lu des livres, puis faisais des analyses géopolitiques. Puis en 2019, j'avais sonné l'alarme. J'ai dit, hey, l'être humain, l'humanité, là, on s'en va encore vers une conflagration internationale. Fait que j'ai dit, qu'est-ce qui se passe? On s'en va vers une troisième guerre mondiale. Peut-être cette paradoxe, ayant l'Aspergers, puis ayant tellement focusé, office de la langue française, focusé, ça veut dire obsédé ou en bon québécois, on va dire, puis me diriger ou m'obséder, puis me concentrer sur le sujet de la géopolitique, qu'en 2019, j'avais créé un système d'entraînement physique pour y aller avec cet état comme si un scénario de troisième guerre mondiale. Fait que l'obsession avec l'entraînement physique, l'obsession avec la géopolitique, en étant aussi un artiste, ça a fait donner peut-être quelque chose de très bon que je présente dans mes compatriotes, mes frères et sœurs, les Québécois, Québécoises, les Canadiens et les Nord-Américains, parce qu'on a deux océans. Hein, à l'est, c'est l'Atlantique, à l'ouest, c'est le Pacifique. Puis, c'est une guerre nucléaire impossible maintenant. C'est des choses qu'on n'a jamais vécues en géopolitique, la détérioration des relations. Puis la troisième guerre mondiale peut commencer aujourd'hui. Moi, je souhaite la paix dans le monde, puis qu'on apprenne à sublimer l'agression, hein, à changer l'agression. Moi-même, je l'admets, je lègue l'agression, là, mais je m'entraîne, mes concitoyens, je fais de l'entraînement pour ne pas faire mal à personne. T'sais. Puis j'admets aussi que dans certaines choses, je suis médiocre, dans certaines choses, je suis comme ça, dans certaines choses, je suis pas bon. Mais je suis super bon à l'entraînement physique. On peut voir des centaines de vidéos d'entraînement. Je suis super bon des analyses en géopolitique, puis je suis super bon à d'autres choses, le rock'n'roll artistique. Mais dans certaines choses, je suis pas bon, comme ci, comme ça, puis j'ai l'Aspergers. Fait qu'est-ce que c'est l'Aspergers? Les Aspies du monde, c'est l'autisme hautement fonctionnel. Ça veut dire qu'on fait tout, mais on peut faire des gestes bizarres, puis on peut répéter des choses, puis des fois, on s'approche peut-être trop du monde. Peut-être c'est pour ça que j'ai perdu bien des amis durant les années, puis à cause des... Je répète des choses, puis il dit hey, je ne rappelle pas cette personne-là, mais quand on est allé boire du café ensemble, n'arrêtez pas de changer le café de main en main, puis ça peut sembler des choses, des gestes bizarres, mais c'est l'Aspergers, puis dernièrement, durant la COVID, j'ai appris à gérer, puis appris à vivre avec, puis appris à reconnaître l'Aspergers, puis les symptômes qui peuvent, quand je le display à d'autres gens, quand on parle, pour ne pas nuire, puis ne pas, pour qu'on ait un bon dialogue, pour qu'on ait en harmonie, puis la paix, puis l'équilibre, puis qu'on puisse travailler ensemble, puis avec mon intensité aussi, peut-être. Ça dit aussi que des fois, c'est l'emploi, comme j'ai eu de l'emploi durant la COVID, puis ça a duré un couple de semaines, peut-être à cause de l'Aspergers, mais aussi c'est important de me dire, moi j'admets quelqu'un qui me le dit aussi, que tu peux faire mieux comme ci, comme ça, puis ça, puis ci, la critique avec qui offre des solutions, parce que avoir l'Aspergers, nous aussi, on offre comme on aime offrir des gestes concrets. On aime offrir des gestes concrets, ça veut dire qu'on offre plus que le verbal, des consolations verbales. On aime ça, ceux qui ont l'Aspergers, on aime ça offrir de quoi manger, ou un câlin, ou un massage, ou des choses. Ça peut être d'autres choses, c'est du pratique. Hein, on faut des gestes concrets. On a cette affaire-là, les Aspergers aussi, on aime ça offrir plus que les paroles, puis du blablabla dans d'autres mots. On aime ça, poser des gestes. Pour ça, peut-être, puis j'offre encore les pompiers qui vont travailler dans la pire saison de feu là, au Québec, à Chibougamau, puis dans le Nord. Je les aime, j'envoie de l'amour aux pompiers, puis à travers le Canada, puis j'offre. Si vous allez sur mes vidéos des 3 derniers mois, vous voyez que j'écris, puis j'offre des lavages de pieds à pompiers qui ont combattu dans les feux de forêt à travers le Canada. Fait que, partie de l'Asperger, ça peut être weird, ça peut être, tu peux rire de ça, mais le monde qui risque de ça, il offre des lavages de pieds aux pompiers, parce que on aime ça, les Aspies, les Aspergers, on aime ça, offrir des choses, puis soit des services ou des biens qu'on a, on est comme ça, on est de même, ça fait partie de l'Asperger qui peut être bizarre un peu pour certains gens, c'est peut-être à cause de ça, j'ai perdu beaucoup d'amis durant les années, mais bon, je suis prêt pour avoir des amis avec bénéfices, puis Québécois, Québécoises, vous êtes ma famille, côte à côte, puis Canadiens, mais dans l'américain, vous pouvez pas, on doit vivre ensemble en harmonie, puis je vous encourage à faire l'entraînement physique, puis avec consentement, mon message principal est à ma famille du Québec, Québécois, Québécoises, de vous donner un câlin comme jamais avant. Aujourd'hui, 20 minutes, une période d'hockey, x3, ça fait 60 minutes, 1 heure, puis avec 3 pauses, 2 pauses, 3 périodes de câlin, avec consentement, oui, 3 périodes de câlin. Si je serais premier ministre, je dirais, bon peuple, mon message principal le matin, l'après-midi et le soir, avec consentement, donnez-vous un câlin. Comme jamais auparavant. 20 minutes, comme en hockey. Avec consentement, bien sûr, un gros câlin. Je laisse, puis je donne des câlins, j'offre des bisous, j'en ai le plus. Créditer des milliards. Bisous, câlins, chatouilles, j'en ai à offrir sur la table avec l'analyse en géopolitique, puis de l'art, puis l'intensité. Puis encore, c'est important de sublimer l'agression. Moi-même, je l'admets, j'en ai, mais concitoyen, mais je m'entraîne pour la sublimer, tu sais. Sublimation, l'entraînement, faites des pompes. Faites de l'entraînement physique pour ne pas faire mal à personne, tu sais. Parce que si on cache, si on dit non, j'ai pas d'agressivité, tout ça, c'est pas une solution, c'est l'entraînement physique. Que ce soit l'agressivité ou des désirs sexuels. Moi, vous savez, je suis ouvert, que moi, j'aime le BDSM switch, le sadomasochisme. Là. J'aime ça, le sadomasochisme. J'aime ça, le sadomasochisme. Là, avec consentement, entre adultes, j'aime ça. Me faire dégrader un peu, disons. Faire dégrader dessus. J'aime ça. Puis, si mon premier ministre il a cette affaire-là, puis je veux qu'il soit ouvert, puis il dit, moi aussi j'ai ça, puis pour pas que d'ailleurs, qui peuvent, des services secrets à travers l'océan Pacifique, à travers l'océan Atlantique, l'autre bord, puis qui peuvent chantager mon premier ministre, mon oncle, avec lequel je suis 50-50, hein. fois 50%, des fois 50%, des fois moitié-moitié avec mon premier ministre, mais on vit ensemble. Puis pour l'économie, pour le français, je chante du rock'n'roll 24/24 pour les fermiers dans les fermes jusqu'aux îles de la Madeleine qui nous entendent. Puis rock'n'roll. That's it, that's all. Puis, s'ils veulent un petit peu apprendre l'anglais ou le français, comme Céline Dion qui les envoie sur Montréal me voir. Je suis en train de filmer, puis je suis en train de faire l'exercice. Puis votre dragon arc-en-ciel, il danse, il fait de l'exercice physique sur le Mont-Royal. Puis je vous encourage tous à faire de l'exercice physique. Puis à la gratitude, tu sais. Puis that's it, that's all, rock and roll. Fait que, tu sais, c'est des problèmes de communication, puis des caractéristiques, puis ça des... Oh, qu'est-ce qu'il dit, le psychologue? Puis en plus, les Aspies, je pensais qu'on était bien plus, mais il paraît qu'on est juste 37 millions. En 2015, on était 37 millions. Fait qu'aujourd'hui, avec la croissance population, peut-être 44 millions, mais on est moins qu'1%. Fait que c'est intéressant au Québec. Combien que vous êtes Québécois et Québécoises, que vous avez l'Aspergers comme moi, soit l'autisme hautement fonctionnel, ça veut dire que s'il y a 1% de la population, quand même, on est quand même 1%, mais on amène de quoi à la table. Tu sais, on amène de quoi à la table, on amène de quoi à la table. Puis oui, hein, des fois, on aime ça offrir des choses comme si tu serais mon ami, puis tu te dis, ah, j'ai mal au cou. Un Aspie comme moi va t'offrir, tu veux-tu un massage? Tu sais, puis il va trouver ça weird, tu sais, peut-être bizarre, mais on est comme ça, on aime ça, offrir des gestes concrets, des actions concrètes, tu sais, plus que les paroles, même si on peut être intellectuel, puis sophistiqué dans notre dialogue, puis notre communication, surtout quand c'est des sujets qui nous intéressent, comme la géopolitique ou d'autres sujets comme l'entraînement physique, le sport, le hockey, mais j'aime le sport, mais la danse c'est mon sport préféré, mais j'aime le hockey, puis j'aime le football américain, si je suis en arc-en-ciel, puis j'aime les travailleurs publics, c'est des choses qui m'intéressent. La construction, je suis un fan. Hein. Premièrement, c'est nos citoyens en travaillant en construction avec les bottes de cap d'acier, puis les grues, je suis obsédé un peu par les grues. C'est les grues qui nous ont permis de monter, puis on va faire des gratte-ciel. Hein. Tout ça par des personnages aussi, comme Armand Bombardier, c'est quelqu'un que j'admire, comme Louis Cyr, tout ça. Fait qu'on a des obsessions spécifiques, des intérêts spécifiques. Comme moi, je pourrais dire, l'entraînement physique, vous pouvez voir des centaines de vidéos d'entraînement physique. La danse est quand même mon sport préféré. La géopolitique, je peux faire des analyses, des discussions profondes, détaillées, avec une sophistication intellectuelle sur la géopolitique, tout ça. Fait que peut-être ça c'est une bonne chose en ayant l'Aspergers que j'ai été capable de faire, de venir à la conclusion, après mon analyse en géopolitique, que on s'en dirige encore vers une troisième guerre mondiale. Puis avoir proposé mes solutions, que ma solution, c'est ma trinité de théories. Théorie d'intégration citoyenne, théorie de la refusion de la dette, théorie de la refusion de la dette, théorie de la intégration citoyenne, théorie de la refusion de la dette, théorie de la fusion démocratique. Cette trinité de théorie que je fais appel par l'implémentation par la quatrième dimension, l'amour, pour le collectif de civilisation nord-américain, puis avec le compromis qu'on avait fait, qu'on continue à faire, celle-là du français. Si vous voulez français et anglais, venez chez nous. Venez sur le Mont-Royal, je fais de traduction. S'il vous plaît, Merci, mon premier ministre, s'il vous plaît, on peut-tu mettre sur le Mont-Royal, je veux remarquer que c'est juste en français, puis ça me fait plaisir faire du bénévolat puis traduire mon bon français de chez nous. Ou touristes que j'invite à venir nous voir puis danser avec nous dans la province, de côte à côte du Mexique, des États-Unis puis d'ailleurs. Mais ça, puis on pourrait mettre des signes puis l'explication bilingue en anglais aussi, ça serait peut-être cool. Je sais que financièrement tout ça, mais je suis prêt à faire du bénévolat, je suis prêt à aider pour les implanter, les traductions en anglais, y a pas de problème. Je fais du bénévolat pour eux autres, pour ma montagne là-bas, Montréal, c'est comme mon deuxième chez nous, c'est comme ma deuxième maison sur le Mont-Royal. Fait que si vous préparez, je suis prêt à donner un coup de main, puis les implanter, les signes vis-à-vis des signes en anglais, parce qu'il y a juste en français, puis l'explication de la faune, puis de la flore qu'on a sur le Montréal, j'ai remarqué que c'est juste en français, puis des fois, cet été, j'avais fait de la traduction pour mes frères et sœurs des États-Unis, c'est frères et sœurs là-bas, nos cousins, fait que on a un qu'eux autres, puis les Nord-Américains, il faut qu'on vienne ensemble, puis avec le compromis qu'on fait, puis on continue à faire le compromis, puis j'ai survécu la COVID 3 ans et demi, 42 mois, 42 mois, 3 ans et demi. Je l'ai en février 2020. Puis j'en prends de plus en plus, puis durant ces années de COVID, j'ai appris de plus en plus à gérer l'Aspergers, soit l'autisme. Fait que des rapports sociaux, oui, ça peut être difficile. Voilà ce que le psychologue il a dit, Peter Vermeulen. La richesse de leur vocabulaire, leur excellente performance dans des domaines bien spécifiques. Ouais, l'entraînement physique, dragon arc-en-ciel, athlète indépendant pour le peuple, pour les fermiers de la belle province, pour les travailleurs en service public qui changent nos aqueducs et nos égouts. On me considère l'athlète du peuple. L'île de Madeleine, une petite ville qui prend nos champs de patates, nos cerises, nos laitues, puis les produits alimentaires, puis qui met du ciment puis du béton pour en construire, et puis on construit les centrales de l'Hydro-Québec. L'athlétisme, c'est pour eux autres, parce que grâce à l'Hydro-Québec, j'ai la lumière, j'ai chauffé mon café, puis je peux faire cette vidéo. Hein. 63 centrales, je vous chante du rock'n'roll, construisez 7 autres centrales dans les 7 prochaines années, mes chers. Avec des bottes de câble d'acier, du ciment et du béton, ça prend des muscles et du cerveau. Puis je suis pas parfait, loin de là. Tellement de choses que je sais pas. Mais oui, peut-être performance athlétique, puis en géopolitique, je pense que je suis un des meilleurs au monde. Analyste je suis indépendant, mais je suis un analyste en géopolitique super. Bon, je peux analyser des distincts profondément dans les choses. Le monde des géopolitiques, les interactions, puis bien sûr, faire une prognostic, une analyse des possibles événements, comme j'ai fait en 2019, puis c'est arrivé après, c'est arrivé maintenant. Ce que j'avais fait comme analyse, c'était peut-être un paradoxe, hein, comme un paradoxe. Mais j'admets, hein, coupable. Dans certaines choses, je suis médiocre. Dans certaines choses, je suis comme ci, comme ça. Puis dans d'autres choses, je suis pas bon partout. Je suis excellent, super et très bon en analyse en géopolitique, l'entraînement physique, le sport, la boxe, puis la danse, puis bien sûr de l'art, de la créativité avec un peu de comédie. D'un domaine bien spécifique, leur promptitude à engager la conversation, leur fantaisie trompeuse, car derrière la façade d'une connaissance et un écorchement se trouve en souffrance. Pour qui le monde est un spectacle des ordres incompréhensibles. Wow. Des fois, ouais, il faut qu'on a des obsessions, on peut le faire répéter, c'est pour ça, peut-être à cause de l'Aspergers, puis commence à gérer, puis l'apprendre bien plus, puis c'est par ces choses-là. C'est qu'on a l'Aspergers, mais intérêt restreint, ouais. Une caractéristique importante du syndrome d'Aspergers réside dans les intérêts restreints, ça veut dire obsessif même, pour moi je dirais obsessif, qui décrit comme préoccupation égocentrique. Plus ou moins, j'essaie de ne pas avoir trop d'ego, de dire pardon si j'ai offensé, j'ai fait, puis peut-être à cause de l'Aspergers dans la COVID, j'ai eu de l'emploi, puis j'avais perdu de l'emploi, puis ça n'a pas renouvelé après un couple de mois, puis même si j'ai aimé vraiment de plusieurs emplois que j'ai bien aimé, mais peut-être communication, peut-être ça a donné, puis ça c'est une chose qui est difficile des fois pour les Aspies. So, Tony Harwood préfère parler d'intérêt spécial. On a des intérêts spéciaux. J'utilise même plus obsessif parce que j'avoue que je suis obsédé quand même par l'entraînement physique. Vous pouvez voir des longs entraînements physiques des heures, puis vous pouvez voir que je m'entraîne souvent, puis c'est quand même une obsession, mais ça aide, puis ça aide l'entraînement physique, hein. Moi, ça m'aide en tout cas, puis ça fait, quand je transpire, quand je m'entraîne, c'est vraiment, ça, tu te sens bien, là. Je me sens bien, puis la géopolitique aussi, j'obsède un peu, plus ou moins, et là, bien sûr, dans d'autres, fait qu'on a ces obsessions-là. La communication, le langage, l'apprentissage des modes de pensée, ça peut différer un peu des autres, mais ça peut être aussi difficile, ça peut être la répétition des choses, fait que je répète, oui, souvent 2-3 fois, fait que ça peut être bizarre. Peut-être à cause de ça, j'ai perdu bien des amis durant les années, puis je dis, ben là, c'est... Perception sensitive et hypersensibilité, plus ou moins, je pense que je l'ai eu. Fait que, ouais, ça peut être... mais j'apprends à gérer, fait que il y a bien de la lecture à faire, fait que je vais continuer une autre fois. Là, on va aller continuer une autre fois. Fait que, amour et santé, gros câlin, puis faites l'entraînement physique, je vous conseille. Do workout, train, exercise. And grateful, thankful. Thank you, farmers. Thank you, farmers. Merci les fermiers de la belle province du Canada et de l'Amérique du Nord. North Americans Unite. Aspie Nation. Go Aspie Nation. Go Aspie Nation. Let us work to channel the aggression and work for world peace. And please, multi-millionaires, billionaires, if you have them in the bank account, finance for the Aspie artists and athletes like myself, s'il vous plaît, financez les Aspie, artistes, athlètes comme moi, avec un peu de finance, puis financer la sécurité alimentaire, les arts, puis l'entraînement physique. Par un partenariat public-privé, soutenez le rêve, le royaume du dragon et de la déesse qui danse, vice-versa, l'empire de la déesse qui danse et du dragon, qui est mon rêve, pour un partenariat public-privé. Support this androgynous pansexual rainbow dragon's 800 dragon rebirthing during COVID. Dream, the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom dream. The dream, the dancing goddess kingdom and the dragon empire. People's Kingdom Empire of North Americans Unite, l'Empire, royaume, pour le peuple de l'Amérique du Nord et pour la paix mondiale, and for world peace. Love you.